Today, I have the honor of introducing you to Power Sister Tomasa Macapinlac. We will be talking about money, wealth, and abundance. Tomasa is the CEO and owner of the Self-Care Queendom. Tomasa describes herself as the self-care queen. She is committed to providing transformational bodywork and healthcare solutions from the inside out. Tomasa began practicing the art of self-care 25 years ago while working with her own immune system challenges. She found many of her chronic health challenges dissipate. Welcome, Tomasa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Deanna. I am very honored to be here today, and I'm honored that you're interviewing me for this wonderful summit called Redefining Her Success. And I want to welcome all the Power Sisters who are listening here today.
Yes, and I think they're going to have a great time because this is a very interesting topic in relationship to money. So let's start by discussing your views on what's currently happening to women in the workplace, entrepreneurship, and in the world.
So what I see is a lot of workaholism. And not that working isn't a good thing. It's just that we're working probably not as efficiently as we could. And meaning that we might feel ourselves drained and tired and fatigued, but we push ourselves to the limit so that we drive our health into the ground. And not only do they drive themselves into the ground, I know this firsthand because I've done it. I did it many years ago when I was in corporate America, and I watched my clients do this. And then we wonder what happens to our relationships. So essentially, what I hear and I see is that there's a lot of imbalance going on. And so we wonder what happened to this part of our health. And then we wonder what's going on with our relationships, with our children, or maybe our partner, or even some of our friendships might get neglected. But then we begin to wonder about our values because our values are being pushed aside to gain those titles and to gain the wealth. And then I find people backpedaling to get back their health and their relationships and come back into their values.
Oh, wow. I can relate to that. I can relate that, about being tired and exhausted and working and not having time for those important things. So I think that leads us next into the question of, so the summit, as you mentioned, is about redefining her success. So why should a woman redefine her success?
A woman needs to redefine her success to come back into alignment to what is balance for her body, balance for her checkbook, balance for her relationships, and balance for her values. Like you have to look at what's important to you and redefining our success, because I've done this many times from the corporate world and in my business as well, is going, you know what, there's got to be a better way, because I can't neglect my relationships and I can't neglect my health to come back into alignment. Here I am, a person who is all about holistic health, right? And so I remember being in both worlds and going, wait, I didn't do this to come back into a place of, imbalance. So I remember coming back to a place of balance, like there's got to be a way to do it so that I enjoy my life and not just have the wealth and sit there tired and exhausted and trying to get my health back, putting a lot of money out to put my health back.
Right.
So redefining your success is really about coming into balance. But also, if you have some young ones at home, you also want to model for them what success should look like. Because I don't think you want your children, if that's what you have, or anyone that you are a role model for, you don't want them to look and see, oh my God, this is the way it is. So you want to come back into balance to be a model, to inspire others, and to encourage them. And then also you feel in balance and feel like you have lots of energy to do the things that you love to do and spend the time with the people that you love, and also have great vitality.
Yes. And so you mentioned also like some of the challenges that even you encounter. I guess that's because we have to be mindful of busyness and not getting too busy. So that would be one of the challenges that we'll encounter while we go on this journey of redefining ourselves. So you talk about dis-ease. So
Mhm.
what is dis-ease?
Well, I think that what most people can see dis-ease, and that's spelled DIS-EASE, is stress. Stress in the body, stress in the mind, stress in emotions,
Mm,
stress in relationships, stress with that shows up in your body with health challenges. So dis-ease is not just about, stress or disease in the body, but it's about dis-ease. Like things are not easy for you, right? And I
right.
believe that when something works in your life, there is lots of ease and there's none of this
Mm,
anxiety and panic and like pushing through where you're exhausted and tired. That's dis-ease in the body. So, and it's also dis-ease mentally as well, because sometimes we get to a place where we can't even think because we're so, there's just so much chaos going on in our heads. I guess that's a better way to explain it, like too much going on. And so then our shoulders go up, and then we wonder like why we got these shoulder issues and neck problems. Um and so this is the way dis-ease might show up in the body before it becomes a chronic serious issue. So I think it's important for us to take care of that before it becomes a chronic issue and a serious issue,
okay.
especially with the body itself, the functionality of the body.
Right. So you touched on, let's expand on that a bit. You touched on the fact that it will show up in, as you mentioned, shoulder aches and pain. So what are other ways that we can recognize that we are suffering from dis-ease? Because I think sometimes we just think that's normal.
Yeah, we can think that's normal. So, I'll give you an example. I have a client who is an accountant and like a partner, accountants at tax season, man, they go full force, they work like 60, 80 hours a week. When she was done, she was okay during that time. And she had very little sleep. As you know, we all need our sleep. Some of us think that, oh, we don't need that, but we do need our sleep. We need at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Okay. It depends on what you can work off. But at the end of that tax season, everything just fell apart. So she started to get ringing in the ears.
Mm,
Um, and because she already has like a lung condition, she started to feel, her asthma, so to speak. I don't like to use labels, but her lung condition worsened. So if you have a chronic issue, maybe you have allergies. I noticed that when I was in corporate America, my allergies were worse. And when I'm stressed, the immune system gets compromised. So notice that everything I'm naming, the lungs is part of the immune system. Allergies are part of the immune system. You might have body aches in your body. Some people call it fibromyalgia, or you might have different things going on with the body. You might find aches and pains or pain down the side of the body, which we call sciatica. Those types of things might show up. Your joints, your body might ache, your back might go out because you don't feel supported. I mean, I could go on and on with the list, but there's also, the physical aspect of things, but there's the mental equivalent to those physical aspects going on in the body. So when the physical aspects show in the body, then we have to look at, because it's an alarm going off and telling us that we need to pay attention and do something about it before it gets to be a chronic problem or a serious condition that we can't turn back, or it will take a long time to reverse it.
okay. It's very interesting. And I don't know that we often connect the two. Now, if someone is having relationship issues with their money and wealth, how will that manifest itself physically?
when the lower body aches, people have lower back aches. And we're talking around like the sacrum area or your hip area. Okay. And when that area aches, that's saying that there is something going on with your resources, or you might feel lack of resources. And so, in every system that I have studied, ancient healing techniques, it shows up that way, because even there's 7 energy centers in the body. And so even in that area there, in the sacral, or the chakra system, we call it, it shows up right there as well. And this is not something that is new. This is very ancient, that comes from thousands of years of healing. And so it shows up around the whole lower body. And it could be weight gain there as well. So if you have money issues and you're trying to hold on to things so tightly, then it will show up as well as weight gain. Like you might see the lower belly having issues. And we like to equate that to hormonal issues, but I want you to know it goes right back to the same system in Chinese medicine. And then I want to bring up another area in the body, only because I have mended my whole breathing system. I used to have asthma. And so I'm watching somebody right now as I work on them that, they're feeling a lot of scarcity. So I want you to think about the lung capacity in the body. So the lungs expand. The deeper you can go, oh my God, the more air you can get in there, the deeper you can breathe, okay? But when you are wheezing and you have shortness of breath, right? That feels like lack of breath, lack of air. And so it's really funny, because there's something called numerology, and this is based on sacred geometry, very ancient again. And there are points on the body that are associated with numerology. And so it's right there in the back of the shoulders there. And we call it the warehouse of abundance. And so it helps the lungs to get more air into it. I was just working on a lady the other day, and all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, I can breathe deeper. And she was having lung capacity issues with her asthma, right? And so it's like, yes, okay, so opening up these parts of your body can help you bring more abundance into your life, but also shift your mindset. And I think that's more important, is shifting the mindset, because the mind is very, very powerful. And what do they say? What we see and imagine becomes our reality.
Right.
And so that in itself, this work that I do actually not just works on the body physically, but it helps you come back into remembering who you are and bringing back that consciousness or mindfulness of abundance.
Right. So that's really, really interesting. So you pointed out a number of different areas on the body that can be associated to your relationship or lack of relationship to your wealth or your money. And, you mentioned the lower back, you mentioned behind your shoulders as one as well, and your breathing. And what can people do so that they can make the connection? Because like you said, I think often people, have these conditions and they think of it as, okay, I have asthma and it's related to, it's humid or the air changed, or I have a lower back problem because I'm sitting all day. But what can we do to maybe identify? Because I don't think we don't have asthma all the time. We're not having those breathing issues, nor as I can relate for myself, didn't always have lower back problems every day. So how can we hone in and figure out, when it's our money that we're talking about, where our body is acting so that we can connect the two?
Well, I think first off, one of the things you have to understand is what's going on in your body. Are you feeling any aches and pains, or if there's any disharmony, is what I like to call it, instead of, disease. And so if you feel any disharmony, or you feel aches and pains, because that is a form of disharmony as well, and it just shows up physically that way, you have to be conscious of it. instead of blaming it on your environment, I want you to really check in with yourself. What's going on with me? And so, there's something I call the pause, because we're so busy, when we're trying to be
Right.
successful, we're so busy trying to do things and staying busy. And we think that is the juice of everything, that's great, right? But there is power in the pause. So when you pause and you take a moment to breathe and close your eyes and check in with yourself. And the more you do that, and some people call that meditation, or some people call that sitting quietly and being mindful, because we have an inner voice. And it's not something that we're crazy or whatever. It's like our higher self knows the answers. And when we check in with our higher self can tell us what is going on. Now, I call that, having an audient ability. So that's clear audience hearing it.
Right.
And sometimes if you close your eyes, you might see the answers. So everybody is different. Or you might be that person who can feel things. So you might be a sentient being, we call that, right? Who feels. So it just depends. But notice that they all are connected to our senses.
Right.
So our senses are on this physical body. But when we go deeper, we call those clear senses. So clear means beyond the surface. So this means to be able to have clear senses beyond the surface. Okay. Because yeah, we can hear things, but also there's this inner hearing that you have. There's this inner seeing that you have. Many people talk about having a third eye. So you can, and the third eye isn't necessarily like you can see. Not everybody sees the same way. So sometimes we see energy, we might see colors, understand what those colors mean. And so you can look that up. What do colors mean? Green can mean love from the heart, or it can mean healing. Whereas, red is like, oh my God, caution, what's going on? There's a lot of fear going on.
Right.
And generally, lower back pain is a lot of fear going on, honestly, because it is tied to an element that when you look at the disharmony, it is about fear. So I think that tuning into your body, tuning into yourself, being beyond this body, knowing that we are so much more than our bodies. But if we tune in, because our bodies are giving us a sign, when we tune in and we take that pause, we can actually intuit. And there's a lot of power in intuition as a female, especially as a female. We all have that gift. And so when you start to tune into that, you get answers. And even answers on how to redefine your success.
Wow. Wow. That's very, very interesting. That's very interesting. I like that. Because so that really means it's important, and it's come up a few times in different discussions about the importance of being present, something that we don't do much today, because we're, even when we're out walking about, we have our phones and we're distracted. So I've heard being present, that's how it came across to me, being important, or being, listening to your inner self. So what are other ways or how can one resolve these issues within their body? So once they recognize them, what are things that they can do to help get rid of these issues?
Well, they certainly can learn how to work on themselves. They can meditate. One of the things that I like to do, I have a course here that I'm teaching, the mini course on the 3 keys to unlock your queendom. So it's my free training here. And so I talk more in depth about that there. And so you can get some hints or some techniques on how to help yourself. And that is a good start there. And so that is, there's a whole thing, just holding your fingers will actually help. And it seems so simple, but it actually works in many different ways.
Oh, wow. And that's great. So you can find out how to help yourself, but also that it's not difficult, because sometimes, we think everything's going to be so hard. So sisters, power sisters, tune in so that you can find out more. And I think we've had a great conversation. It's been amazing. I think it's one of those conversations that when we talk about money, wealth, and abundance, we don't often connect the body to it. We don't connect, that our body is reacting to the things that are going on with our money and our finances. So Power Sisters, I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Tomasa as we talked about money, wealth, and abundance. She talked about the fact that it's important that we pay attention to our body. She talked about the fact that how we connect from our mind. She brought that in as well, but that our body is telling us things and giving us indicators that we need to pay attention to. And that the most important thing is that there is a way to resolve them. And that once we take care of ourselves, then we can ensure that as we build our wealth, we're not using our wealth when we finish our employment or whatever it's doing, using the wealth to fix ourselves. So for that, we thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the honor, and, many blessings to everyone.
Yes. So Power Sisters, if you have enjoyed this powerful conversation and want to learn even more from our guest speakers, I want to personally invite you to become one of our Summit VIP Sisters and upgrade your registration to receive all the interviews, free gifts, and training programs from each of our speakers, specifically curated for your success. What a great way to build your Power Success library. You won't regret it. Click on the link below for more details. Again, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to connecting with you in our group.